Hi guys, it's Kathy. Got OJ set up. Finally. Ooh, I should have done that during my stream, but I was busy searching for my clips. Um, I don't know what today is. I don't understand. Maybe you guys will, but so we're still on March 28th. Okay, it's the last part of March 28th. It's only 18 minutes long though. So I don't know why they had a separate little 18-minute clip just hanging out here. I don't know. We'll find out. Here we go.
You described for the court of jury that at some point Mr. Simpson overheard a conversation between you and Cato Kalin regarding this earthquake. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then Mr. Simpson asked in kind of quizzical tones, "Oh, do we have an earthquake? Where's that effect?"
Yes.
And was Mr. Simpson outside there when Cato Kalin asked you if you had a larger flashlight?
I'm not positive, no.
Did you ever hear Mr. Simpson make reference to a flashlight or possibly having a flashlight inside the house at all?
No.
Do you know whether or not he ever went inside looking for a flashlight?
Simpson or Cato?
Mr. Simpson.
No, not that I remember, no.
Or Mr. Cato?
No.
Did you ever hear Mr. Simpson make reference to looking for his phone book or having his phone book?
No.
Did you ever see a portable phone in Mr. Simpson's hands at any time that night?
Not that I remember.
So at any rate, after these 2 or 3 times that Mr. Simpson came inside the residence, at some point he went back outside in the driveway area. Is that correct?
Yes.
By the way, in the driveway, did you see any spots or anything on the driveway?
No, I didn't.
See any spots in the house at all?
No, I didn't.
You didn't notice any spots anywhere, did you?
No.
All right. And as you drove your car in that driveway and out the Rockingham gate, you weren't mindful or cognizant of any spots that may or may not have been there?
No.
How long would you say that the limousine, the stretch limousine, was parked right outside the front door of the Rockingham residence before you had occasion to move it?
How long was it parked in his driveway?
Yes, in his driveway before you left to go to the airport.
10, 15 minutes, if that.
At most. So what time would you place yourself as getting in there and pulling into the driveway? What time would that be?
That would be at about 10:56, 10:57.
About 10:56, 10:57?
Somewhere around there, yes.
And you had seen this figure that you've described in dark clothing while you're on the phone with Dale St. John, is that correct?
Yes.
And that would have been after 10:52.17, is that correct?
Yes.
And it was prior to the end of your conversation with Dale St. John.
Snoopy.
10:55 and 12 seconds, is that correct?
Yes.
Hi, Snoopy.
Did you tell us that you continued to talk to St. John for a period of time after you saw
Thank you, Snoopy. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
this figure?
Yes, just for very briefly, a few seconds.
All right. So would your estimate be that you saw this figure somewhere between 10:54 and 10:55?
Yes.
And you then concluded your conversation with St. John. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And then, as I understand it, you then shortly thereafter gained entrance to the Rockingham estate there. Is that right?
Yes.
Because of Cato Kalin. And you would place that within a couple of minutes that you got inside.
Yes.
And then you were then in there for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you believe that you left the Rockingham residence somewhere between 11:05 and 11:15 is your best recollection. Is that correct?
Yes. I know it was after 11:05.
After 11:05?
Yeah.
And maybe before 11:15?
Yes.
All right.
It wasn't after 11:15. It wasn't before 11:05.
So it was after 11:05 and before 11:15, probably.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
All right. Now, at some point, you described for us that you got all of these bags were assembled. In fact, you put some bags into the vehicle yourself. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you put which bags did you put inside the vehicle?
I put in the designer bag into the trunk,
Okay.
and the two duffel bags that were on the porch. I asked him where he'd like those,
Yes, sir.
and he said he wanted those inside the car.
All right. And you described, I believe, in response to one of Mr. Clark's questions that the one of these black duffel bags was unzipped. Is that correct?
Yes.
But did you look inside and see the contents?
No.
All right.
Wasn't
That would
paying.
be bad form, right?
Yes.
To peek in somebody's
Yes.
luggage. So you didn't do that, did you?
No.
All right. At any rate, you put those two bags inside the car.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you participate in putting any other bags inside that car?
Not that I remember. I might have readjusted the golf bags with Cato or something.
And Cato after being handed the golf bag, is your recommendation? Strike that. Your recollection is that Cato Kalin actually put this golf bag into the limousine at some point. Is that right?
Yes.
And he received it. Your recollection is he received it from Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
right? And where did he put the golf bag?
Into the trunk.
And with regard to the bag, the smaller bag we've been talking about, marked at B there on the diagram that's now up again, it's item 66E. You don't recall whether that bag was placed inside or inside the vehicle or in the trunk of the vehicle, do you?
Correct.
You don't know.
No.
All right. Now, so at some point, all the bags are in the car and you're about ready to leave at that point. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us where was Cato Kalin at the point when you were just about to leave the residence?
He was just about where the K is. He was in that area.
All right. And this was prior to this. This is about the location he is. And for the record, Your Honor, there are two Ks. So which K are you talking about? The blue K.
They've
or the
got
green?
the
Yes.
meats.
Down by the corner of the garage, the
All
blue
right.
K.
The blue K down by the corner of the garage.
Yes.
And that was after the conversation that you heard, wherein Mr. Simpson was going to go one way and he was going to go the other way to look for this sound of this noise. Is that right?
Yes.
And then Mr. Simpson noticed what time it was, and he said, "We got to go." Is that right?
Correct.
And you endorsed that and agreed with that, did you not?
Yes.
That's
I
pretty-
thought we should have left a while ago.
All right. You were already kind of late as far as you were concerned.
Yes.
And this was fairly unfamiliar territory for you, I presume. You had not ever gone to LAX from the Rockingham location. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. So you left Cato at point K, blue K, Your Honor, on 66E. And then did you then prepare to leave the residence?
Yes.
And as I understand it, in response to questions that I'd asked you earlier from the grand jury and the preliminary hearing testimony, you then proceeded out the Rockingham gate. Is that correct?
Correct.
And does that gate open automatically when you drive up to it?
I think
recall?
Cato had to open it.
All right. You think the Cato came and opened it?
Yeah, he walked back over.
All right. So then he then left point K, blue K, and walked over to the front there on the Rockingham.
Correct.
All right. And that's when you then pulled out onto Rockingham and you turned left. Is that right?
Correct.
To go back where you're going towards Sunset?
Yes.
And as I understand your testimony, then now you and Mr. Simpson, of course, are alone in the car, right?
Yes.
And he gives you some directions about how to get to LAX, does he?
Not at that point. No.
Right. I mean,
Just-
at some point during the ride.
Yes.
You know how to get back to Sunset, right?
Yes.
But as I understand it, that when you get down to Sunset and the 405, you believe that you have to turn left to go up by that kind of circular hotel there?
Yes, because I've in previous jobs I used to deliver some equipment to UCLA,
Yes.
so I used to come back across the bridge and then go around that way. So I thought that was the only way back on the freeway. I didn't know there was another one on the right side, which he told me.
Mr. Simpson told you about
Yes.
the way you could go to the right or south. Is that right?
Exactly.
And as I understand your testimony, you missed that. You missed the first on-ramp going south on the 405. Is that right?
Yes.
But you were told that if you continued going southbound on the surface streets, you'd run into another on-ramp.
Yes.
And you did that, did you not?
Yes.
And at some point, he also gave you some guidance with regard to getting off at Sepulveda to save some time.
Yes.
Is that correct? Now, you described in response to one of Ms. Clark's questions that It was a June night that I believe you said it was somewhere perhaps 68 to 70 degrees, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
All right, it was June, and Mr. Simpson said to you on a couple of occasions, maybe two, possibly three occasions in a row, that I'm hot. Words to that effect. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you told him or showed him where the air conditioning was. Is that correct?
I don't know if I showed him. I told him that he can use the air conditioning.
Right. And you could hear the air conditioning coming on?
Yes.
All right. And in most limousines, there's a partition between where the client sits and where the limousine driver sits. And was that partition down during the course of your ride?
Yes.
So the two of you could talk back and forth. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And as you drove up, did you drive fairly rapidly?
Yes.
Because you wanted to make this flight again. Is that
Correct.
Right? So you got on the 405 and we're moving out, right?
Yes.
Okay. You described that at some point, did Mr. Simpson ask you where the light was back there? In the rear compartment?
Yeah, he asked me where a light was.
And as I understand what you said to Ms. Clark, was the light was only on briefly for perhaps 20 to 30 seconds at most. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Simpson said something to the effect that I was rushing around trying to get packed. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, or words to that effect. Isn't that correct?
Yes, everybody says that.
And that didn't seem out of the ordinary to you, did it?
No.
All right. And you had, in fact, seen him rushing around. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And he had also told you he'd taken a shower. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So you think it unusual that he was sweating occasionally, did you? Having rushed around and taken a shower, it wasn't unusual he might be sweating, was it?
No.
And so you just continued to drive at this point as you had some conversation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, as your best recollection is that Mr. Simpson had the two duffel bags in the back with him. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. You don't recall any other bags at that point, do you?
Back there with him?
Yes, back there.
No.
Okay. And did that limousine have a phone in the back of it?
Yes, it did.
He didn't use the phone at that point either, did he?
No.
All right. So the two of you were just intent on getting to the airport. Is that right?
Correct.
And as I understand it, you got to the airport by 11:35.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And how long was the drive altogether? Your best recollection?
It was pretty fast. It couldn't have been not much more than 10 minutes.
You got there pretty fast?
Yeah, 10, maybe a little bit longer.
How fast were you driving?
I'm 75, hitting 80 some parts.
All right. You were going pretty fast.
Yes.
Okay. And so you got there and then you went around to American Airlines, you went around to Terminal 4, right? American Airlines?
Correct.
And you pulled up the curb, did you?
Not all the way to the curb. No, I think there might have been another car.
You got as close as you could.
Yes.
And Mr. Simpson asked you if you would help by getting a sky cap.
Yes.
And as I understand it, you weren't able to get a sky cap, but ultimately you got one of those carts and brought it over.
Yes.
Is that correct? And you let Mr. Simpson out of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to that, it's your recollection that at some time after Mr. Simpson got out, and although his
So in LA, OJ Simpson just walks into the front of the airport. That's how celebrities do. They just Bill would know. Bill's a celebrity. Bill, would you just walk into an airport? You're a celebrity. Don't you have to have like special escorts to your special plane and someone driving you on a little mini cart? Beep, 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 beep.
plane was leaving in about 10 minutes, somebody approached him and asked for an autograph?
Yes.
And did you see him accommodate that individual?
Yes, he did.
And did he sign the autograph?
Yeah. Yes.
He also took the time to ask you or to tell you to add 20% to the bill?
Yes.
Did you do that?
I told Dale that's what he said, and he said, okay, no problem.
All right.
Actually, I told Dale 50%, but
Did you?
no.
Kidding, I'm sure.
Yes.
But anyway, but you did, in fact, follow through with what Mr. Simpson had said about your services there.
Yes.
Okay. And you took that you'd done a good job in getting him there to the airport. Is that correct?
Yes. And he made it.
Huh?
He made it.
He did make it.
Yeah.
And then how long did you, from the time you got there at 11:35, How long did you remain with Mr. Simpson at that point?
Not very long at all.
In minutes, your best estimate?
3-4 minutes.
So would it be a fair statement to say that you last saw Mr. Simpson somewhere 11:38, 11:39 that particular night? That'd be a fair
Yes.
statement? All right, and then you still believe that his flight would be leaving at about 11:45, is that correct?
Yeah, that's
And-
correct.
And in the sequence of events, when did this person approach him to get the autograph? I mean, was it after you went and got the cart, or at what point was that?
I can't remember if it was right when we got out of the car to start with the bags, or if it was when we started to walk up to the sky cap. I just remember the scenario happening.
All right. And you and Mr. Simpson participated in putting the luggage on this particular.
People ask me for my autograph all the time. And they always have like this packet with them. And I don't know. I guess they think my phrase here is "you've been served" because they keep saying that to me too.
Cart, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the cart was then taken inside the terminal there for American Airlines?
No, the cart I pushed over, and the sky cap had the bigger luggage cart, which I put the golf bags and the designer bag onto.
Yep, we're gonna do another marathon stream on the 4th, on July 4th. I don't know how many hours. We'll see. We shall see.
All right.
And that
So
was
that
about
was
when I left.
was that outside on that walkway in front of Terminal 4?
Yes, it was.
It's kind of like curbside check-in.
Yes.
And this big kind of dolly or whatever would be used to go on the conveyor belt to get on the plane. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was there some mention of the fact that this had to be expedited at this point?
Not that I know of, no.
All right. At any rate, you were asked a question with regard to Mr. Simpson's tip, not for you, but for the sky cap. And you recall that at some point, Mr. Simpson reached into his pocket and took some change out.
Yes.
And now, where were you at that point?
That was right when I was done putting the golf clubs and the designer bag on the bigger cart. And that's when I turned around. He was getting some money out of his pocket, and that's when I said, "See you later."
Okay, and that was you at that point. You were still out there on that walkway in front of American Airlines or Terminal 4,
Yes.
and you saw him at that point reaching to his pocket, but you didn't see whether he handed the sky cap.
No.
All right. So that's the last time you saw him then.
Yes.
You then got back in your vehicle and took off. Is that correct?
Correct.
There was all the luggage had been taken out of the car. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's no blood in the back of that car, was there?
No.
No blood on the carpet of that car, was there?
No.
You didn't see him bleeding that night, did you?
No.
And there's nothing about Mr. Simpson that seemed unusual to you that night, isn't that correct?
Like
Well,
like I said, I've never met him, so I don't know his normal behavior.
all right. Do you recall being asked that question by Ms. Clark at the preliminary hearing, page 41? It's bad. You still as a bad question? Okay, good. Well, I still want to ask it. Page 41, line 23 and 24. Do you recall being asked this question? Okay, I'm sorry. 41 preliminary hearing, line 23, 24. I think this is you. Let me start then, Your Honor. Let me begin at line 18 down to, let me go through 26. All right. Question. Can you describe the defendant's behavior that night when you saw him at the point that you were packing up the car with him and getting ready to leave? Answer. Well, I've never met him before, so everything seemed okay to me. Question by Ms. Clark. Nothing seemed unusual to you? Answer. No. Question. Did you notice any injuries to his hands? Answer. No, I didn't. Do you recall so testifying?
Yes.
Your Honor, this might be a good point if the court would allow.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you. Mr. Park, you may step down. You're ordered to return tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. You were also ordered not to discuss your testimony with anybody except for the lawyers and your own attorney. Do you understand the order, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
All right, we'll stand in recess, 9 o'clock. Back on the record in the Simpson matter. Defendant's again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey. People represented by Ms. Clark. What happened to Mr. Darden? All right, Mr. Douglas, Ms. Clark, you had a matter you wanted to take up before we invite the jurors to rejoin us.
We are going to be stipulating to the admissibility of the cell phone records that were subpoenaed from AirTouch, but the stipulation that was previously framed needs to be reworked a little bit, and then we will present that to the court. And I wanted to indicate to counsel that before I was looking for a clean copy of the phone records for the limo, and I now have them, and I'd like to submit these records in lieu of the ones previously given, which had markings on them.
All right, and that was People's Exhibit.
148?
Mrs. Robertson, People's 148, was that the cell phone records? All right, then we'll substitute, if there's no objection, Mr. Douglas will substitute the clean copy for 148. All right, we've now been rejoined by Mr. Darden. All right, Mr. Douglas, anything else we need to take up before we invite the jurors to join us?
I do have a matter, Your Honor, that I do think merits some concern and attention by the court. Your Honor, as the court will recall, on Monday, there had been an objection lodged to a question asked by Ms. Clark of Mr. Kaland. The question concerned whether or not Mr. Kaland had been told by Mr. Simpson that he had had an angry argument with his former wife earlier that day. There had been an objection lodged by Mr. Shapiro arguing that a good faith basis for that question had not existed, and there had been an offer of proof made by Ms. Clark at sidebar. I've had occasion, Your Honor, last night to review those particular records and also to review a transcript of the sidebar hearing, which has been covered quite broadly in many of the media yesterday. And I'm troubled, Your Honor, by some of the representations that were made and that apparently formed the basis for the court to overrule Mr. Shapiro's objection to the good faith basis for Ms. Clark having asked the question. I am referring specifically, Your Honor, to references that Ms. Clark made that there had been a witness that would testify that Mr. Simpson on that afternoon of June the 12th had been angry and yelling, and that there was a suggestion that the only conversation that their records confirmed his having at about the time that he was at the Riviera Country Club was in fact a conversation that he had had with Nicole Brown Simpson. And specifically, there was a colloquy between the court and Ms. Clark where the court asked, so there's only one cell phone call on his records that afternoon? Ms. Clark responds, that would match the time that he was at the country club when this witness could have seen him. The court then asks, when you say match the time, I mean, are there other cell phone calls in the afternoon? Ms. Clark responds, other cell phone calls, but not within the time frame when he was at the country club. You know what I mean? And the court responds, Your Honor, in reviewing the cell phone records of Mr. Simpson on that day, I noted that there were 7 particular calls that occurred on his cell phone between 2:12 in the afternoon and 2:24 in the afternoon. That would have been the time frame that he was at the country club. Of those 7 calls, the third of the 7 was the 4-minute call to Nicole Brown Simpson, about which she referred, Ms. Clark referred. that meant, Your Honor, that there were 6 other calls of maybe 1 or 2 minute duration that were within the time frame that could well have been one of the calls when the witness supposedly saw Mr. Simpson on the phone, but is directly contrary to the suggestion of Ms. Clark that there was only 1 call that occurred within the time frame when he was at the country club. I'm also troubled, Your Honor, because in reviewing a statement from that witness that provided the basis, I'm sure, for Ms. Clark to argue that she had a good faith belief that Mr. Simpson was angry and was yelling on that conversation, I see that there was no reference at all in the entire police statement that Mr. Simpson was yelling, that he was very angry. Indeed, the only statement that is written is that OJ appeared, serious conversation, stern face, different face, striking a different OJ. And we had an occasion to speak with the witness herself yesterday evening. And when she was informed that there was a suggestion that she would testify that Mr. Simpson was angry and was yelling, she was somewhat disappointed that her statements to the police could be so misconstrued, because she referred to the fact that typically when Mr. Simpson would greet this individual, he would call her honey bunny or something, some sort of endearing term. And on that particular day, he was simply engaged in some sort of conversation and did not acknowledge her in that typical way. And that was the only sense that she was attempting to convey in terms of there being a different OJ, but that he was never very angry. He was never yelling. I am then, therefore, Your Honor, troubled by this error, because it appears that it was the representations that gave the court, it appeared that it was the representation that gave the court the belief that the question being asked was in good faith, and that there was, in fact, a basis for her to suggest in front of the jury to Mr. Kalin that there had been an argument between Mr. Simpson and Ms. Brown Simpson. The call that occurred was only a 4-minute call. We have reason to believe that the call concerned simply an arrangement of tickets for the recital between Mr. Simpson and Ms. Brown Simpson, who had, in fact, the tickets in her possession at that time. There were 6 other calls that occurred within the same time frame. There appears to be a misrepresentation to the court. I would argue, Your Honor, that this misrepresentation to the court, given that it occurred in a question that was posed to Mr. Kalin, to which there was an objection, merits some sort of a stern remedy. I would argue, Your Honor, that the remedy that we would seek for this transgression would be, first, a stern admonishment to Ms. Clark to be very careful in her questioning in front of the jury. Second, that there be an admonishment to the jury that lawyers must have a good faith basis before asking a particular question to a witness, and the court finds that there was a question that was asked of Mr. Kalin concerning Mr. Simpson apparently being engaged in an argument with his wife that was not asked in good faith, and that the jury is directed to disregard the question and the implications of the question because it was offered in bad faith. And I do think, Your Honor, with all due respect, that this is a transgression that merits some sort of a financial sanction so as to fully impress upon everyone in this case the obligations to play fair, and that it is clear from my personal experience, I know, that a financial sanction certainly catches one's attention. The court has suggested its new policy of imposing sanctions for speaking objections, and I think that that has resulted in there having been a great shortage of speaking objections now. And I think, and I'm not one who freely and easily asks the court to impose sanctions on another counsel of a financial nature, but I think this is not the first occasion that we have witnessed occurrences of this kind before the jury. I am troubled by that, and I would hope that something could be done so that we could obviate the need for these sorts of occurrences to be raised in the future.
Thank you, Counsel. Darty?
Can I show you the statement?
Sure. Thank you.
And Your Honor, if I may, it's been reminded to me that the statement of the witness suggested that the conversation had occurred at approximately 4 o'clock on that evening. And as the court will see by looking at the phone records, there was no cellular phone call made at approximately 4 o'clock that day.
Which is our point exactly. Ms. Artunian could not be exact on the time in which she
She's a
observed the
liar.
defendant upset and
I like
animated while
this.
talking on the cellular
Yes.
phone at the Riviera Country Club. But we do know that he was there at 2:18 in the afternoon. As for those 1.0, 2.0 minute calls, the cellular phone company can tell you, like they've told us, that that doesn't mean that he spoke to anyone. And anyone who has a cellular phone can tell you that as well. We stand by our representation. We've talked to Ms. Artunian when she testifies. Her testimony will be very much as I believe as we represented to the court. Ms. Artunian called us last night and told us that the defense had called her and asked her about the statement, and she said she stood by her statement. And that apparently was the gist of the conversation that she had with the defense. On the issue of good faith, I've sat here throughout this trial and I have seen many, many instances of bad faith questioning on the part of the defense. However, I recognize that sometimes is simply the nature of criminal defense litigation. Time and time again, the defense has suggested that the blood at Rockingham was planted by the police, when even they know by the defendant's own statement that he was bleeding at Rockingham prior to leaving for the airport that night. Every time they make that suggestion to this jury and to this court, they make it in bad faith. This is a non-issue.
All right, thank you, counsel. I'd like to read carefully the statement and review the phone records when I have the opportunity. I would like to use the time with Mr. Park, however, in front of the jury at this time. And since this issue does not involve this particular witness, I'll take this up at a later time.
Your Honor, would the court like to see a copy of the sidebar where that portion was referenced?
Yes, that would help me immensely too. If you'll give that to me later. All right, but I do want a copy of each of these items. Just this page of the phone record. All right, let's have the jury, please. And we'll take 1 10-minute recess at 11.
We have no objection to introducing to the witness the golf clubs and bag and the Louis Vuitton bag. However, as for the other items, in particular,
All right, Mr. Park, why don't you step outside, please? Mr. Darden.
thank you, Your Honor. We have no objection to the defense presenting to the witness the golf club bag, the Louis Vuitton bag, or the duffel bag en route from the grand jury. However, the other two bags, the black garment bag and the small brown leather bag with the blue trim, we do have objections to presenting those to the witness. No witness has described either one of those two bags during their testimony. And as the court noted in chambers, the smaller bag appears to be brand new. It has the keys still attached to it as well as the tag.
Mr. Cochran.
Yes, but Your Honor. I think, first of all, with regard to the black garment bag that we take, the bag with the OJS on it, I think we could certainly reasonably understand that if that bag was full with clothes and folded over, it would very closely match the description we've heard of a second black duffel bag. And I think the best way to find out, obviously, is to ask the witness. I mean, this is why this witness is here. We don't want to bring everybody back 4 or 5 times. And I think that the bag is now empty. But if it had clothes in it, as you would expect if someone was taking a trip, then I think it becomes very relevant. And the best way is to ask the witness. As regards to the other bag and the newness of the bag, as the court knows, Mr. Simpson has not been able to go back out and pick out which bag or whatever he's been in custody. With regard to that, however, you'll notice even the golf clubs still have the label still on it. That is of no moment. And the golf clubs have obviously been used. And so the fact that it looks new or has some keys on it, I think is not of any moment. The question is, can this witness describe these? Because after all, we were not out there, and we can't put our judgment in this. We have to ask the witness who was there.
All right. At this point, I'm inclined to sustain the prosecution objection until the witness testifies describing these items in particularity, anything that even comes close to these items.
No, not very clear, Your Honor. You're talking about just the 2 items?
That's correct.
All right. I want to make sure I know what you're saying. All right.
Well, we have heard a lot this morning about good faith, and I would ask the court to inquire of the defense. Is there contention that that small leather bag, along with the blue trim, is a bag Mr. Simpson carried?
Actually, it's a blue bag with brown leather trim.
Brown.
Thank you.
All right.
I mean, is it their contention that the witness carried that bag on the plane? If not, then they're acting in bad faith. Why introduce it to the witness? This is supposed to be a search for the truth, and we shouldn't be trying to trick witnesses to get them to say something that might affect their credibility. That seems to be what they're trying to do.
Nobody's trying to trick anybody with all their search warrant powers and all the things they did. They never even tried to find these bags. Just talk about it and throw all these theories up. So let's not talk about trying to trick anybody. We're the ones who, through the court's indulgence and help, have brought these bags in here. So I just want to get on with it, Your Honor, and I understand your ruling that you'll allow some further questioning, and we'll find out. No, I wasn't there. Neither was Mr. Darden. And so clearly the witness is the one who's going to be able to tell us whether or not this comports with his description or his recollection for that night. That's all we're trying to do.
We hope to present more evidence tomorrow relative to what happened to the bag in which the bloody clothes were carried in. And tonight, I hope to present to the defense discovery on that issue as soon as it comes into our possession. At any event, we shouldn't be trying to trick witnesses.
Right. I noted the objection. I sustain the objection, and unless I hear a better foundation, I've indicated that I'm sustaining it.
And as usual, they're trying to give a soundbite for what might be what he hopes is going to happen. Their whole case is based upon hopes and dreams, and they're evaporating.
Nobody calls us the dream team, Mr. Cochran.
You dream.
All right, counsel, the repartee is not necessary. All right, let's have the jurors, please. Engaged this morning, both in chambers and here in open court on matters that pertain to the testimony that you're hearing today. And I had to resolve those matters before presenting the witness again to you. Mr. Park, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good morning, Mr. Park.
Good morning, Your Honor.
You're reminded you are still under oath, sir. And Mr. Cochran, you may continue your cross-examination.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Farr.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Mr. Park, You had described for us, I believe, yesterday, how when you pulled to the Rockingham gate, um, you looked into the driveway there, and one of the things you were trying to consider was whether or not the limousine could be pulled in through the Rockingham gate. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And you have previously testified that, did you see two cars in that driveway?
Yes.
And you're sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. Not
All right.
positive, but it's what I observed.
Your belief is you saw two cars there.
Yes.
And can you describe those two cars for us?
The one I know was a Rolls Royce. That's
All right.
something that's pretty obvious. The other one I wasn't too sure about. Another
Ooh.
dark car.
All right. As you were looking in the Rockingham gate, which of the two cars would be closest to you, sir?
From what I remember, the Rolls Royce.
All right. And so would you accept that might be a Bentley as opposed to Rolls Royce? Same family?
Yes.
All right. And it was in darkened color. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, did you have occasion to see some photographs or something at or about the time that you testified at either the grand jury or the preliminary hearing where you saw two cars in the driveway at some point?
Not that I remember.
All right. If I were to tell you that second car did not arrive in that driveway until about 1 o'clock p.m. or 1 o'clock a.m., would that in any way refresh your recollection? There's only one car there when you looked in there?
No.
Your best recollection as you sit here now is that you saw two cars with the Bentley, Rolls Royce parked first. Is that correct?
From what I remember, yes.
All right. And the second car then, what kind of car was that?
I don't know what kind of car it was. It just seemed to be another dark car.
All right. Dark in color.
Yes.
And you believe that second dark colored car was parked behind the Bentley?
Yes.
But as I understand your testimony, as you've indicated, you're not sure about that, are you?
No.
All right. That's just, you have a recollection or an impression that you may have seen two cars.
Yes.
You are sure, however, that you did see the Bentley or the Rolls Royce.
Yes, I'm
that correct?
positive of that. Yes.
That's your positive.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, you yesterday described for the jury some luggage that was placed in the back of the limousine. You recall that?
Yes.
And as I understand your testimony, you described for us a golf bag that was encased in some kind of a sheath with some kind of emblem thereon. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if you were to see that golf bag and with the emblem thereon, you'd recognize that, would you not? You think you could?
Yes.
All right. And then you described for us a designer bag that you'd previously called Gucci, but yesterday you and I had a conversation that it might possibly be Louis Vuitton, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you described it as being kind of beige. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. You also previously described what you call a black duffel bag, and you gave us some measurements of about 3 feet by maybe 1.5 feet in width. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you think you might be able to identify that if you saw it also?
I don't know if I give you a positive identification, but I could say that's what it looks like.
All right. I understand that. No, I understand that night things were dark and it's been a long time.
Yes.
You can tell us whether or not it looks similar. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
All right. Now, with regard to, you talked about a second black duffel bag, as you described it. With regard to that, do you recall whether or not that was black in color? Was it not? The second bag?
It was dark in color.
Yes. And do you recall whether or not you saw any initials or anything on that at all?
No.
Recall? And was it folded over at the time that you saw it in such a way that it appeared that there were clothes inside of it in some way?
Which bag?
The second black duffel bag that you described for us yesterday.
Which, the two that were together? Or?
Yeah, the two that were on the ground. Did it appear? We were talking about one. Now I'm talking about the other one.
Okay.
And I'm asking you whether or not the other duffel bag, the black duffel bag, appeared to have as though it had some clothes in it.
I don't know what it had in it.
All right, but it did look, and let me ask you this then. Did it appear as though it had something inside?
Yes.
All right. And one of those bags was open, partially or unzipped, and you didn't look inside though.
No, I didn't.
But based upon your experience and common sense, you felt that it had something in it at that point. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it looked fairly full, did it?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And then you described for us yesterday this other bag that was approximately 20 feet away from you on the driveway. You remember that?
Yes.
Can you again describe that by color for us, if you would?
Again, another dark bag. I never really handled that bag or got close to it, so
All right. And again, from a standpoint of size, can you help us with the size of that bag, sir?
it was a bit smaller than the other ones. It seemed to be a foot and a half across and half to a foot deep.
All right. Do you recall whether or not it had any handles on?
No,
All right. And you never got closer than 20 feet with regard to that bag. Is that correct?
correct.
You and I'd like at this point to show the witness a couple of bags and somewhere I'd like to put it.
All right, the two that there are no objection to, you may. All right, with court, please.
But Marcia, he just said the two there was no objection to are okay. So let it go. He didn't do it yet. He's working on it. He's going to do it. And then you can object. But what are you objecting to right now?
They were out in front of Mr. Simpson's house. You recall that?
Yes.
Can you describe for us and give us a word picture of the duffel bags? You told us they were black in color. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as between the two bags, was there any difference between the two bags?
From what I remember, they were pretty much the same.
All right. And with regard to, I have to ask you whether there was any writing on either one of them. And do you recall any writing at all?
No.
And did they both appear as though they had something inside of them?
Yes.
Can you describe for us anything about the handles of these two bags?
No.
All right. And did you put the two duffel bags inside the car?
Yes.
And you only had them for a very short time, I presume. Is that correct?
Yeah, seconds.
And that wasn't something you were concentrating on, I presume.
No.
All right. But with regard to what else can you tell us about these bags that you haven't told us thus far? You told us the color. You told us there's no writing that you recall.
I'm not positive if one had a shoulder strap or not.
It's possible that one could have been carried up over one shoulder. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as with sometimes, as sometimes happens with those bags with the shoulder straps, they can also sometimes be folded. Is that correct?
Yes, I guess.
And do you recall on that particular night whether or not, as it appears, a duffel bag, it had been folded over with clothes inside of it? Do you recall?
No.
You don't recall?
No.
All right. If you were to see both of these black duffel bags again, do you think you could tell us whether or not it appears to be similar to the bags you saw that night?
Yes.
Your best test would be to actually look at it, right?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us anything else that you haven't told us thus far about the two black duffel bags?
That's about all I remember. Other than one was unzipped.
And of the two of them, one was unzipped.
Yes.
And where were the zippers on that particular bag, if you recall?
Seemed to be in the middle.
All right. The other one, did the other duffel bag have zippers also?
It was closed. I don't know if it had a zipper or not. I didn't examine them to.
All right. This was just a quick thing because you were late for the airport,
Yes.
right? I understand. Then may I show the witness a couple of bags quickly?
The first two, yes.
They're not three.
I'm sorry?
They're not three.
The first two,
Maybe put the word.
yes. Mr. Cochran.
For the record, I want to ask one question before I show the witness the bags. Mr. Park, do you know the difference between a garment bag, as it were, and a duffel bag? Do you make a distinction between the two of those?
Yes.
And if a garment bag is folded over with clothes therein, would you agree that looks very similar to a duffel bag on occasion?
It could.
All right. Do you know the second black bag that you saw that night? Do you know whether or not that was possibly a garment bag that was folded over with clothes therein?
Not positive, no.
You don't know.
No.
And again, would the best test of that be for you to actually see a bag and then make a determination?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, I'd like to mark as defendants next in order 1062. What apparently is a garment bag. Counsel has seen it, a Louis Vuitton garment bag. I'd like, if I might, to approach Mr. Park.
Yes, fold over the luggage bag, garment bag.
Mr. Park, I want to place the defendant's 1062 before you. And why don't you just take a minute and take a look at that and see whether or not the bag that we talked about yesterday being a designer bag appears similar to defendant 1062 from the night of June 12th, 1994. Sir.
It's very similar, if not the bag.
All right. And do you want to look at it anymore?
No.
Looks very similar?
Yes.
All right. And you see these little LVs there on it?
Yes.
And that looks like what you saw that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
You see the anything else about this bag that looks familiar? The label. Did you happen to see whether or not the Sky Caps put a label on it that night where this bag was going?
No, I didn't.
Do you recall whether or not the designer bag you saw that night had a Hertz label with the name Simpson on the other side? Do you recall that?
No.
You don't recall seeing that?
No.
Do you recall seeing premium service, flagship service, American Airlines?
No.
But you went out on American Airlines.
Yes.
So your testimony is this bag, defendant's 1062 for identification, may very well be the bag that you had that night. Is that correct? I saw that night.
Yes, it looks very familiar.
Okay, sir. And like now, Your Honor, to show what I guess will be marked defendant's 1063, being brought by Mr. Douglas. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. You have previously described for us what you believe was a golf bag, and you told us that it had some kind of an insignia on it. Is that correct?
Yes.
We're now placing before you now defendant's 1063 for identification. Do you recognize this bag at all?
No.
Do you see an insignia on this bag that looks familiar to you at all?
No.
Does the configuration of this particular bag seem similar to the golf bag that you saw on that particular night?
Somewhat similar, but I don't think it's the same.
Doesn't look the same to you?
No.
If you were to, would it be helpful for you? Did you see the clubs at all that night?
Yes. Not the clubs itself, but the bag.
You saw a sheath of some kind?
Yes.
All right. And how does this sheath look different than the one you saw?
Yeah, it didn't say Swiss Army like that. It wasn't that big.
The Swiss Army thing?
Yes. And it seemed to be a little bit different. It wasn't as bulky.
Didn't seem that bulky?
No.
All right, if we can unzip it. Did you ever have it unzipped that night at all? Have you look at the bag, clubs inside? Did you, at any time that night, see what apparently is a set of golf clubs in some kind of black golf bag with a top there on, a sleeve or something on there on, and it has another insignia, Swiss Army
Brands.
Limited. Does that-
I never saw it like that. No. It had another sheath, but I don't recall seeing it written like that. It seemed to be a different emblem.
All right, seemed to be a different emblem as you recall.
Yes.
Did you, this particular bag, I think you described for us, the golf bag, was placed in the vehicle by Mr. Cato Kaling?
That's correct.
So you didn't handle it per se, is that correct?
No. I was there when he put it in. I handled it at the airport.
All right, when you took it out, put it on the cart of the gentleman was checked, was it not?
Yes.
Okay. So your best recollection is that this set of golf clubs does not appear similar to the ones you saw that night? Can you say one thing or the other?
Well, it could be the golf bags. I mean, the golf clubs, but there was it just seemed to be a different sheath than this one over it.
Was the sheath you saw that night, was it dark also?
Yes.
All right. The difference between this sheath and the sheath that you recall that night has to do with the emblem, is that correct?
Yes.
The emblem that you recall that night said Swiss Army also?
It didn't say it like that. It wasn't written as big. It seemed to be just a little silkscreen white triangle emblem, like almost like the center of this, just the red part.
All right, you can turn the microphone so I can stick what you're saying. You're saying that the Swiss, first of all, let me ask you this. Did the bag you saw that night have a sheath that had Swiss Army on it?
I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure it said Swiss Army. It was more of a emblem. Like I said, it wasn't written that big.
But I guess the point is, did it have a Swiss Army?
Yes.
There? Okay, I think you testified that yesterday. Didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. What you're telling us is that your recollection is that the insignia Swiss Army appears different than the sheath that is on this on defendant's 1063. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And how long would you say, would you say you looked at that particular bag, that golf bag with the insignia of that particular? How long? How much time did you spend looking at it?
Not very long at all. I noticed it.
It's a matter of seconds, would you say?
Yes.
And the other bag.
Counsel, I would just suggest for a moment that you just prop the bag up on the rail there for the jurors down at the end here so they can see the emblem that we've been talking about. All right. Thank you, counsel. Yes.
Now, had you ever before that night ever seen a Swiss Army insignia on a bag before that night?
On a bag?
Yes, on any kind of a bag. And luggage.
No.
Do you know whether or not they have more than one kind of insignia on bags, Swiss Army Company?
Yes.
What's the answer to that? You know the answer? What is the answer to that? Do they have more than one kind of insignia on luggage?
I said yes.
Okay. You know that they do have? You've seen more than one kind?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you make this observation?
Just now.
All right. And by the fact that the one you saw here, you felt was different from what you've seen in the past?
Yes.
Is that how you made that determination?
Yes.
All right. Now, do you recall that when you testified at the preliminary hearing, you had indicated that when you first arrived at the location, you missed or passed by the residence there on Rockingham. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And in fact, you'd indicated that you came up Rockingham going north, and you were going a little bit fast. Remember testifying to that?
Yes.
And so you actually missed the house, right? At that point?
Well, I didn't miss the house. I caught the address on the side of the curb, so I knew it was the house. But I'd say I missed that gate.
All right, and well, now, let me just ask you this. What way were you going when you came up, when you were going a little bit fast, when you first got there?
I was heading north.
And what did you do after that as you were heading north?
And that's when I turned down, made a right onto Ashford, heading east.
And did you go halfway down Ashford at that point?
Yes.
And you came back and then you parked at that point?
Yes.
And that's when you parked across from the Ashford gate, is that correct?
Yes.
But now, what I want to ask you, when you were going by a little bit fast, when you spotted the address on the sidewalk, is that right?
Yes.
And so you were driving and looking at the letters on the sidewalk as you went past, and you went on up to Ashford, is that right?
Yes.
And as you told us earlier, at that point, you were focusing on the address and on the house at that point, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And in addition to that, as you told us yesterday, you were not focusing on any cars, particular cars parked there, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And you cannot tell this jury positively that the vehicle was parked there outside the Rockingham gate or not, can you?
No.
In fact, when you left to get to the airport and you looked to your left, when you left the Rockingham gate, sir, and you were going to pull out to head to the airport to go back toward Sunset, at that point, you don't recall whether or not you saw any parked cars, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And that's what you indicated to Officers Tippin on June 15th in the conversations you had, right?
Correct.
That's what you indicated at the grand jury, isn't that correct?
Yes.
That's what you indicated at the preliminary hearing when you testified, is that correct?
Yes.
And at all times, throughout your testimony, you've always tried to be accurate and as accurate as you could, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And you agreed with me that your testimony for events that transpired on June 12th in the late evening hours was obviously better back in June than it is now, some 8 or 9 months later in March of 1995. Is that correct?
I'd say it's the same.
I know you're very young, but is your memory, by that, it's a compliment, by the way, but your memory, even at your age, tends to get a little worse over a period of time, doesn't it?
I'd agree on that.
All right, that's what I'm saying. So when events are fresher in your mind, they're likely to be more accurate. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
All right. Then when time passes a little bit, isn't that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, yesterday, I asked you some questions about the fact that June 12th was a Sunday evening and the street in and around Rockingham and Ashford were quiet that night. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And would you characterize that as kind of a quiet neighborhood?
Yes.
And as such, you told us, in fact, that you observed and saw cars that were coming and passing by you. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you never at any time saw any car come up, stop, or hear anybody get out or slam any doors. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
You never went over to inspect any cars that particular night, any parked cars, did you?
No.
And that was, again, because your job was to pick up this client and get him to the airport on time. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And nothing else was important to you at that point. Isn't that correct? Except getting the client there safely?
That's about it.
And you did that. You got in there safely and relatively on time. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
All right. I asked you some questions yesterday about this partition inside the limousine. Can you describe for us how that works in a limousine from the could separate the driver's compartment from where your client or the customer is? How does that work?
There's a button in the back that the client or whoever you have in the car can put up the divider. There's a a glass one that you can see through, and then there's another fully dark one, like a wood border that goes up in between if you want total privacy.
All right. Did any time did Mr. Simpson ever put this total privacy partition up that night?
No,
At any time did he even put the clear one up that night?
no,
In other words, he left it down at all times. Is that correct?
yes,
And when it's down, you're able to communicate and just talk back and forth. Isn't that correct?
yes,
And in fact, in most limousines, was it true at yours that if you had put the one of total privacy up, there's usually a phone in the back where you can talk back and forth if you wanted to. Isn't that right?
yes,
All right. But in your conversations that you've described for us with Mr. Simpson, the two of you were just able to talk back and forth. Is that correct?
correct.
Now, yesterday, you described for us this figure of this person that you saw, you recall, and you told us that, as I understand it, when you first observed this figure, this person was just about in the entranceway of the Rockingham residence, right?
Yes,
And you could not tell us from whence, like that. You could not tell us from where that individual had come. Isn't that correct?
correct.
And you saw this individual for just a fleeting period of time, just a second or two. Is that right?
Yes,
And your observation at that time was from outside the gate, on the Ashford gate. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Did you ever, when you first saw this figure of this person who was going toward the front door of Rockingham, sir, did you ever see or overhear any conversation between this person that you said was wearing something dark, perhaps even a robe, with the gentleman who you described as Cato Kalin later? Did you see them at all talking at all when you saw this figure of this individual?
No,
When Cato Kalin then let you inside and you pulled inside, you told us about your observations. You then had a conversation with him. Is that correct?
correct.
With Cato Kalin.
Yes,
And then, as we understand, it was within no more than 6 minutes that you then saw Mr. O.J. Simpson come down, and you then saw him for the first time.
that's correct.
And so that we're clear for the jury, the bag that he was carrying when he came down, when you first saw him within 5 or 6 minutes after you got there, is that the bag that looked similar to the Louis Vuitton bag that we just showed the jury?
Yes,
And he was carrying that bag in his hand,
yes,
and was it folded over?
yes,
The fashion appeared here.
yes,
The two duffel bags were already outside.
yes,
Now, when you were in and around that driveway, I may have asked you this yesterday, you never saw any blood drops anywhere on that driveway, did you?
no, I didn't.
Never saw any blood drops in the foyer area of the residence that I showed you a picture of yesterday, did you? Oh, well, did you?
No, I didn't.
Since June 12th, 1994, have you had occasion to go back out to Rockingham at all, that location?
No,
You've never been out there with the police or anything?
no,
You described for Ms. Clark yesterday that you wore glasses.
All right, children. I need to step away for a few minutes. I need to take my daughter to work. I'll be back in a bit. Behave. Be good. I'll be back soon.
Because you had trouble seeing things far away. You're nearsighted, right?
correct.
And how do you determine when you wear your glass? You're going to wear your glass?
Pretty much just when I feel like it. I don't wear them very often at all.
So it's just
I think they make my eyes worse.
Yeah, really?
Yes,
So, all right. At any rate, you didn't have them on that night, did you?
no,
Now, with regard to Mr. Dale St. John, did you talk to him at all anymore that night after you dropped Mr. Simpson off?
No, I didn't.
When did you next talk to him, if you did, in connection with taking Mr. Simpson to the airport?
I think it was the next morning.
And did you keep the limousine with you that particular night? If you
It was at his house, which is across the street. I mean,
you took it back to his house
yes,
and then just walked home, is that correct?
yes.
Now, you have you not seen pictures of the Rockingham residents during the times you've met with Ms. Clark and the others at the DA's office, isn't that correct?
Yes.
In fact, when you met with her last Friday in this building, like 11 o'clock on, at that time you went over some photographs or pictures at that point, did you not?
A few, yes.
All right, and some of those few pictures were of the Rockingham residents, were they?
Yes.
When you were parked before you went to either the Rockingham gate or the Ashford gate, when you were parked, I guess on Ashford, you were parked in a way you could look down Rockingham, were you?
Not actually down Rockingham. I was just looking at it.
Or you could look at Rockingham, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Is that why you're in the car? Is that why you're still seated in the car?
Yes.
And when you got outside the car and kind of walked around and walked to the rear of the car, could you see down toward Rockingham at that point?
No, I was sitting on the curb looking, which would have been down the Ashford gate
All right, so you'd be
of the
looking
residence.
the Ashford gate toward the residence of that.
Yes.
Point, right. The vehicle was pointed forward, and you got out and were looking. What direction is that?
That would be south.
Looking south at that point.
The car was pointing west.
West at that point. All right. And I understand that the other item may be here.
Yes, Ms. Clark, you want to take a look at this real quick?
When you were up in the DA's office meeting with Ms. Clark last Friday, do you remember what pictures she showed you of Rockingham?
I don't recall.
Were they some of the same photographs that we saw yesterday during your direct
Yes.
examination? So they look familiar. Did you see any of the boards here at that time also?
The phone records.
Saw the phone records?
Yes.
And you saw some pictures that look similar to the pictures that you see here?
Yes.
Saw here. Is that right? Okay. I'm going to approach you first and show you a black bag. Council has seen it. I'm going to ask you whether or not this black bag, I'll place it before you. Strike that. Just place the black bag before you first. Can you take a look at that, please, sir?
This one looks familiar.
Now, you've had occasion to look at that black bag.
Yes.
Does that black bag look similar to either one of the black duffel bags that you've described for the jury to this point?
Yes, it does.
And does it look dissimilar at all?
It looks very similar.
All right, looks very similar.
Yes.
So this could have well been one of the black duffel bags that were out in front of the Simpson home front of the entranceway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Man, move closer to the jury.
Yes.
Now I want to show you another bag. I'll proceed.
All right, we'll mark this defense 1065.
1065.
Yes.
1065 for you. Ask you to take a look at all at 1065. Now, with regard to defendant's 1065, it's obviously empty, doesn't have anything inside of it. It does have, first of all, a handle apparently on it. Does this look similar to any of the, either one of the black bags you saw there that particular night?
No, not that I remember.
You don't recall seeing a bag that looks similar to this that night?
No.
Is that correct?
Yes.
With regard, I'd like to place on the Elmo, if I could, defendant 66E. If I can.
Defendants or prosecution?
Prosecution 66E. Now, can you see 66E there?
Yes.
And I just wanted to have you take a look at that again. And can you help us and show us, I don't want to particularly write on this particular diagram, but perhaps a word picture will be helpful, where the vehicle you described as the Rolls Royce or the Bentley is parked in that driveway by using the various descriptions that are depicted on 66E.
It would have been just about in that little inlet area, right above the word driveway on the Rockingham driveway.
Right above the word driveway, and you're getting some help with it?
Yeah, a little bit farther towards the street.
All right, so the Bentley would be there,
Yes.
and Ms. Clark has no objection if we were, Your Honor, to mark that area for the Bentley. Should we put a box there? We'll make a box. And it's pointing toward the Rockingham gate, right?
Yes.
And that, so that mark there on 66E is the, why don't you put an RR by it?
How about B?
Well, B,
Everybody's calling it a little more.
well, it's a B. They're similar, Your Honor. We'll make it a B.
Who made it be even?
Well, it's in white.
All right, so that is that a fair approximation of where you believe you saw the Bentley that particular night, sir?
Yes.
Now, this other car that you said, the other dark car, do you recall where that car would be in relationship to the Bentley?
Oh, right behind it.
All right, and so we may either make a very small car or run into that other B, but right behind it, Mr. Harris, can you do that? Right in that area there?
Yes.
All right, and that's the one you're not positive about, right?
Correct.
It was dark. Well, I think we meant, we'll
You know,
understand.
Mr. Craig, I really don't think it's necessary to mark it. The jury
All right,
has
that's
been
fine.
there. They've seen it.
All right.
They know what we're talking about.
Fine, no problem, Your Honor. So we know the area. Thank you, Your Honor. May I just want to return?
Perhaps this will be a good moment. I need to give my court reporter a brief recess. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 10-minute comfort recess for the court reporter. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions. Don't conduct any deliberations. Don't let anybody communicate with you. And I'm going to ask you to step back into the jury room. We'll be in recess for 10 minutes. All right, Mr. Park, you can step down. Come back in 10 minutes. Let the record reflect we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning again, Mr. Park. You're reminded you're still under oath. Mr. Cochran, you may continue.
Park, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Park, you described for us briefly yesterday the stretch limo. How long is that stretch limo, sir, if you recall?
I don't know the exact length. It's I'd say approximately 28 feet.
And it does require some maneuvering when you're turning it, does it not?
Yes.
I want you to take a look at a photograph, and I want to ask you a couple of questions regarding the photograph. You can see, I think it's People's 136. Can you see People's 136 for identification there?
Yes.
By the way, have you ever seen that particular photograph before?
Yes, I have.
And could you have seen that photograph in Ms. Clark's office
Yes.
last Friday?
Possibly, yes.
And we've already covered the fact that you're clear about the Bentley, but not so clear about the car behind, right?
Correct.
And does that photograph comport with your present recollection of how the cars were configured that night when you were looking into the Rockingham Gate?
Yes.
Now, with regard to the stretch limo, as I understand it, in order for you to come out the Rockingham Gate, you'd have to come right down the driver's side of those two cars depicted in People's 136 for identification, is that right?
Yes.
And do you know, as you look at that photograph and recalling that particular driveway, whether it would have been possible to maneuver that stretched limousine around two cars as they're parked and configured there?
I wouldn't know that.
You don't know that, do you?
No.
It'd be a lot easier if that second car wasn't there to get out of that driveway. Isn't that correct?
Well, can you tell from that picture?
No.
All right, well, let me ask you this way. With regard to the way the cars appear there, you can't tell whether it's possible to maneuver the stretch limousine around them. Is that correct?
From that picture, no.
Right. However, you'd agree, would you not, that if there were only one vehicle there, it would tend to be easier to get around than when you have two vehicles parked in tandem. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
As we sit here now, does that photograph, People's 136, in any way refresh your recollection of whether or not there were one or two cars there on June 12th in the late evening hours?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Now, sir, with regard to the stretch limousine, you spoke with officers Tippin and Carr on or about June 15th, 1994. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you spoke to them in person and also by phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you spoke to them in person, was it at the Harbor Division of the LAPD?
Yes, it was.
All right. And after they talked to you, were you aware of whether or not they went and looked inside the rear of this the stretch limousine?
Yes, I told them that might be a good idea. It hadn't been used since that night.
All right. So they went. These two officers, Tippin and Carr, looked inside the vehicle.
Yes.
All right. Were you with them at that point?
No.
All right. You told them to do that, right?
Yes.
And lastly, did you have any, as you think back on that night, when you came out the Rockingham gate to then go up to Sunset and go to the airport, did you have any trouble in getting out of that driveway and negotiating the turn from in front of the house to go out the driveway, if you recall?
No, I didn't have any trouble. I didn't hit anything.
Well, that's the ultimate
Yeah,
test,
I
isn't
didn't-
it? All right. But I want you to think back for me. Do you recall any problems in negotiating or maneuvering?
No.
You didn't hit anything?
No.
Good. I think I have nothing further this witness at this point, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark?
Good morning, Mr. Park.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me first ask you, when you were at the defendant's home on the night of June the 12th, were you in a hurry?
Mm, it depends on what point in time.
Well, when you finally saw, let me ask you, that's good. Thank you. By the time the defendant came downstairs to the limousine, were you in a hurry?
Yes.
Okay. And did he appear to be in a hurry?
Yes.
Were you spending time trying to study the defendant, his hands and his body when he came downstairs?
No.
This is a suggestion, Your Honor.
For Fred's question.
How carefully were you trying to observe the defendant's body and hands when he came downstairs finally to the limousine?
Not at all.
Did you pay any attention to his hands at all?
No.
Shake his hands or have any physical contact with him, with his body or his person?
Shook his hand, yes.
And which hand did you shake?
Right hand?
Ever touch the left hand?
No.
You told us, think that he was carrying a black overcoat.
Yes.
Do you recall whether he had that overcoat draped over his left arm?
What I said, I don't remember if he had it on or if he was carrying it.
And if he was carrying it, do you recall which arm, whether it would have been the right or the left arm that he had it over?
No.
Sustain.
When you were at the, you indicated, I think earlier, that you were on Ashford twice in two different positions that night, correct?
Yes.
When you were parked on Ashford, I'm showing you people 63, sir. I believe you indicated that the first time you parked on Ashford, you said you parked in that location where you see that black Jeep in the photograph,
That's correct.
and that you sat behind the limo on the curb.
Correct.
Were you able to see the Rockingham gate from your position behind the limousine on the curb?
No, I wasn't.
Were you able to, and then later on, I think you indicated that you parked facing in towards the Ashford gate. You recall that?
Yes.
Were you able to see the Rockingham gate from your position facing the Ashford gate?
No, I wasn't.
And you recall, people 64, that's the Ashford gate. You recall that?
Yes.
And while you were seated in that limousine, after you'd pointed it in towards the Ashford gate, did you have the radio on at any point?
I think it was on, but I don't know how loud it was. It was down very low.
Okay. What was your attention directed towards when you were seated there in the limousine facing into the Ashford gate?
Repeat
What
that.
was the focus of your attention at that time?
My focus, I was more or less just looking at the house, seeing if there was any lights on, stuff like that. I mean, when I rang the buzzer, nobody was there, so.
Were you paying attention to the traffic in the street, either on Ashford or on Rockingham?
No,
Was that important to you?
no,
Was it important to you at that time to determine which cars may have stopped or not,
no,
or which may have parked on Rockingham or not?
no,
Do you even know if you could have heard a car pull up on Rockingham from your position at the Ashford gate?
no,
Would it have been significant to you if you had?
no.
Now, when you first pulled up, Rockingham at about 10:22, you indicated earlier you were looking for addresses on the curb so you could find the defendant's house. Is that right? You recall that?
I'm objecting to this narrative question, Your Honor. It's not a question, it's a statement.
Oral.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Are you sure that you were doing that, sir?
Looking for the address?
Yes.
Positive.
No doubt in your mind about that?
No,
Oral.
no doubt.
And when you indicated to us that you saw the address of 360 on the curb of Rockingham, are you sure about that?
Oral.
Yes.
Do you have any doubt about that?
No.
Oral.
And when you were looking at the curb and you saw that address, you indicated earlier that you did not see a white Ford Bronco. You recall saying that?
I assume this is foundational with something
Yes.
else.
Yes, it is.
Oral. Oral.
No.
And are you sure about that?
Oral. You can answer the question.
I wasn't looking for it. I didn't see it.
Are you sure you didn't see it?
Oral.
You can answer the question.
I wouldn't say I'm positive. I wasn't looking for a car. I was looking for an address.
When you looked at the address on the curb, You recall driving by that location, sir?
Yes.
And the address indicated on the curb, is that where you saw it that night, about 10:22?
Yes.
And when you were looking in that location, did you see a white Ford Bronco?
Overruled.
No, I didn't.
And when you pulled back down to the Rockingham gate at 10:39, you recall your testimony at that point, you pulled so that the side, the driver's side window was parallel with the driveway. You recall testifying to that, sir?
Yes.
How close did you pull to the driveway at that point at 10:39?
10 feet.
Within 10 feet of the driveway?
I was in the middle of the street. Yes.
So you were not over on the right-hand side where your lane of traffic would ordinarily be, you were farther over to the left?
Ask him to describe where he was.
In terms of the lanes of traffic, if you're driving southbound on Rockingham, your lane of traffic would be to what side of the street, sir?
It'd be on the right.
And were you all the way over on the right?
No.
Where were you?
Towards the middle of the street.
Did you have to veer around any white Ford Bronco parked at the curb?
Sustained. First question.
Did you
I've
see,
I've sustained the objection.
when you pulled up to the Rockingham driveway, sir, and you looked into the gate, when you pulled out to that location, was the location in which you see the white Ford Bronco on this photograph, was that area in your field of view?
Yes, it would have been.
And did you see the white Ford Bronco?
No, I didn't.
Overruled.
And did you tell that to the police when you spoke to them shortly after the murders occurred?
Yes.
And did you tell that to the grand jury in your testimony as well?
Yes.
And did you,
Overruled.
when you testified before the grand jury, did you tell them that when you pulled down to the Rockingham gate to see if you could pull into that driveway, that you did not see the white Ford Bronco parked at the curb? Fine.
Sustained.
Directing council's attention to page 252 of the grand jury transcript. Line 12, well, line 10. Start with line 10. Ready?
Yes, I'm asking you to read all the way down
I'm
to, how far you gonna read?
going to read all the way down. I'll read over to page 253.
All right, proceed.
Question, do you recall the following questions and answers before the grand jury back in June 1994, sir? Question by myself. At what point did you get back in your car, if you did? Answer. I got back in at about 10:30 and sat there and waited until about 10:40, and then I pulled up to the front gate on Ashford. Question. Did you get back in your car and drive around at any point? Answer. Before I pulled into the gate on Ashford, I came out onto Rockingham. Question. How far down Rockingham did you come? Answer. I came all the way down to the gate of Rockingham. Question. Did you notice any car parked in front? Answer, no, I did not. Question, there wasn't any car there? Answer, no. Question, you were looking there, you would have seen it? Answer, yeah, I would have saw it if it was there. Question, what time was that? Answer, that was just before 10:40. Question, about 10:35 or so? Yeah. I then noticed that it would be a lot easier if I just backed up and came back to the other driveway because it didn't look like I would be able to make the turn in the limousine. So I drove back to the other gate. Question, when you say the other gate, you mean the Ashford gate? Answer, yes. Question, where did you park that time? Answer, I parked face first into the driveway looking towards the front of the house. You parked right up in the driveway area just in front of the gate? Answer, yes, I did. Question, and you were facing in? Answer, yes. Question, what time was it then? Answer, 10:40. Do you recall giving those answers to the questions that I've just read to you, sir?
Yes, I do.
And directing counsel's attention to the preliminary hearing transcript, pages 15 and 16. I'll start with 12. Well, actually, no, let me back up, counsel. I'm going to start at, I should start on page 14. I start at line 2, page 14, okay? I'm sorry. Page 14, line 2.
Proceed.
Ready? Okay. I'm going to ask you if the questions I'm about to read to you and the answers are those you recall being posed to you and given by you at the preliminary hearing in, I believe it was July of 1994. Okay. Question. So was it about 10:39 when you pulled down to the Rockingham gate? Answer, yes, I would say that. Question, when you pulled down to the Rockingham gate, you say you looked down the driveway? Answer, yes. Question, would that mean, sir, that your driver's side window was parallel to the driveway? Answer, yes, it was. Question, and so you were right next to this area here that I'm indicating with my pen, which is just above the line that seems to indicate the edge of the driveway uppermost on the Rockingham gate. Rockingham side, thank you. Answer, yes. Now, why were you looking up that driveway? For what purpose? Answer, to drive into it. Question, and why did it seem inaccessible to you? Answer, it just seemed too narrow. The two walls here and just the way the cars were and the way the driveway bent this way, it didn't look as easy as the other side, as coming in straight ahead and then making the turn. Question, so it looked a little bit too tight to get up to the front door from that gate? Answer, yes. So you were looking carefully through that window to assess whether or not you could make the turn? Answer, yeah. Question, did you notice any white Ford Bronco parked on the Rockingham side near the gate? Answer, no, I didn't. Question, would you have seen it had it been parked there next to the gate? Given the manner in which you were looking at that location. Yeah, okay, strike that question. Strike that. Given the manner, but this one was okay. Given the manner in which you were looking at that location when you pulled up to the Rockingham gate, would that white Ford Bronco have been right in your field of view? Answer, I wouldn't say I was. It was right in my exact sight if. Question, was it in your field of view where you were looking? No. Towards the driveway? Was that area, let me indicate with my pen, were you able to see this area as you were looking up the driveway? Answer, Yes, I was. And for the record, I indicated the area just above the line, which would have been just to the north of the Rockingham gate. Okay, were you able to see this area? Answer, yes, I was. And as you were looking down the driveway, you could see this area that I'm indicating with your pen, with your pen. Answer, yes. Question, and you did not see the white Ford Bronco? Answer, no, I didn't. Now, that was 10:40 approximately, or 10:39, you said? Answer, yes. Question, and then what did you do? After you pulled up to the Rockingham gate you indicated? Answer, I backed straight back up and made another left onto Ashford and came up to this gate, the Ashford gate. And then, finish it. Question, where did you park when you came back to the Ashford side? I pulled in frontwards in the limousine and, the front bumper was just about touching the gate. Question, so at that point, was the front of your limo pointing into the driveway? Answer, yes, it was. Question, and what time was it at that point when you pulled up to the gate facing into the driveway on the Ashford side? Answer, about 10:40. Do you recall those questions and those answers having been given to you to those questions at the preliminary hearing in this matter in 1994?
Yes, I do.
So when you pulled now, when you pulled out of the Rockingham gate on your way to the airport, I believe you indicated you recall some obstruction to the right as you were. How could it be leading if he's already testified to it?
Yes.
Mr. Park? Do you recall what that obstruction was?
No, I don't.
So at this time, do you even know whether it was a car parked or anything else to the right of you?
No, I don't.
All right, now you indicated, sir, that you saw the 6-foot, 200-pound African-American person in all dark clothing walk into the entrance of Rockingham. You recall that?
Yes.
And you said that was between 10:54 and 10:55?
I have a question pending with no answer.
I'm waiting for a photograph I wanted to show him.
I'm on my own replay crew.
Great. Okay, can you indicate on this photograph, sir? I'm going to ask you to. I'm going to ask you to direct the. I'm sorry?
For what purpose? All right, without the reporter. I know, but you don't have to stand there either. Both of you.
I didn't, but if you missed my live stream earlier, I hear the same ad every day about bacon apple pie. They mean bake and apple pie, but they say it. They squish it all together and they say bacon apple pie. Bacon apple pie. I can't wait till the 4th of July because that's what I'm going to make. Bacon apple pie.
Proceed. This is
People's
People's 139.
139.
Right. Okay.
People's 139. Could you please indicate, if you would, sir, direct that arrow to the location, if you can find it on this photograph, where you first saw the person you described walking into the house between 10:54 and 10:55?
It would have been up just to the corner of those potted plants. Up a little farther. There you go. Right. Go back around there.
Was it
Maybe-
on? It wasn't
maybe-
on them.
Well, in that area, maybe a little bit closer to the door. There you go.
There?
There. Yeah.
And it was just moved closer to the door and off the pot.
Is that
That's the general area. Yes.
market? Had this marked as what People's 139A?
That's where he placed it.
What he said.
Ask him again. Just
All right.
You
Where that
could,
white arrow is that correct, sir?
you could go closer to the front of the door.
Okay. Okay, let's move it.
That would be good.
All right. People's 139B.
All right, 139B.
Thank you. When you saw that person walk into the door, sir, were you able to, did you see the hem of a robe swirling around the legs at all?
Oh, roll. Oh, roll. Oh, roll.
No.
Okay. Did you see that person swinging a golf club
No.
or carrying a golf club?
No.
Now, you indicated that after that person entered the house, you saw the lights go on.
Correct.
When you
Oh, roll.
ultimately, at some point, you pulled up to the, you pulled inside,
Yes.
correct? Before you pulled inside, sir, you indicated you spoke to the defendant over the intercom.
Yes.
Did he buzz you in?
Oh, roll.
Was
No.
Cato that let you in?
From what I remember, yes.
Okay. After you got in and you parked, you said at some point you saw the defendant come downstairs, come out the front door.
Yes.
Did you look at your watch to see what time it was when he came downstairs?
No, I didn't.
You estimated for us that it was 5 to 6 minutes between the time you spoke to the defendant, or excuse me, strike that. You indicated to us yesterday that it was 5 to 6 minutes, I believe, between the time you saw the 6-foot, 200-pound person go into the house and the time you saw the defendant come outside. Do you
Yes.
recall that?
Yes, I do.
You did not look at your watch when the defendant came outside. Is that 5 to 6 minute time frame an
Sustained.
estimate?
Sustain. Rephrase the question.
Is that 5 to 6 minute time frame you gave us between the time you saw the 6-foot, 200-pound person go inside and you saw the defendant come outside? Is that approximate or is that exact?
That's estimated time. That's a guesstimate, you could say.
A guesstimate?
Yeah.
Hey, can I get 138? Examination. You recognize this foyer area of the defendant's residence?
Yes, I do.
You indicated also that you saw the defendant and Cato speaking together just inside the house shortly before you left for the airport. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you see the area in this photograph where they stood talking for a bit
Yeah, that's the area.
in that foyer?
Yes.
Now, when you were 38, do you recall the front play and lawn area in the inside the inside the gates of the defendant's residence?
I didn't know what it was at the time. No.
Okay.
I mean,
All right. And you see the area on this diagram that has previously been marked as People 66, but now it's on the screen. There's designated lawn
yes.
and play yard.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the lighting was like in that area that night?
Overruled.
It was very dark.
And can you tell us, sir, whether you saw any golf balls in that lawn area that night?
No.
Let me ask you also, sir, were you looking on the were you looking down at the driveway and on the ground to see if there were any spots on the ground that night?
No.
And can you tell us what the lighting in the driveway was like in general?
It was dim. There wasn't very much light.
That was 138. Okay, you indicated previously that you saw a small dark bag, some behind the Bentley or the Rolls Royce, or behind the cars. I'm sorry. Do you recall saying that?
Yes.
Can you see the area on this photograph, People's 138, where you saw that bag?
This is an answer that we haven't considered marked.
Overruled.
Go ahead.
It's just to the lower left corner of that picture.
Why don't you direct the arrow?
Straight, go back towards, just down towards the corner. Somewhere around there.
Okay. 138. C. 138C, Your Honor.
All right, 138C.
All right, now that bag, sir, you indicated, I believe yesterday, that golf clubs were placed into the trunk. The garment bag was placed into the trunk, and then there were two black duffel bags that went into the passenger compartment.
Overruled.
Yes.
Did the defendant load any of those bags into the trunk or the passenger compartment?
Overruled.
Not from what I remember.
But that knapsack, that small bag that you just indicated on this photograph, did you load that into the car
No, I didn't.
after the defendant picked it up? Did you ever picked it up from that location? Did you ever see it again?
No.
Now, you indicated that one of the duffel bags was unzipped.
Yes.
Could you tell whether that duffel bag was empty or full?
It wasn't empty and it wasn't full.
Did you look inside it to see what was in it?
No.
And that small dark bag that the defendant picked up from the location shown in this photograph, have you seen that bag in court today?
Which one?
The small dark bag that you saw in the driveway that you,
No, I'm going to sustain the objection.
the duffel bag, you indicated one of the duffel bags was unzipped. You recall that?
Yes.
And that duffel bag went into the passenger compartment in the rear area of the car.
Yes, it did.
And could that small dark bag that you saw, that you've indicated the position of in this photograph, people's 138, could that small dark bag have fit into the duffel bag?
Oh,
I don't know.
Was it smaller than the duffel bag?
I saw it from a distance, so I don't know exactly how big it was. It
Was it smaller than the duffel bag?
seemed
overall.
seemed to be smaller.
Ms. Clark, do you have much more?
No, I don't, Your Honor. And that small dark bag, could that have been in the back seat with the defendant?
Yes.
Now, that garment bag, do we have that bag?
Okay. All right. We flipped over. We did good, guys. We are on day 71. And we're on part 2. We got the whole way through part 1. We finished yesterday, got through part 1. Yes. What is tomorrow? We'll see. All right, guys. I really appreciate you keeping everything afloat again. I mean, you guys are amazing. You really, really are. I will see you all in Bill's stream or later today, or I should drop a video today. I'm sure of it, or the next time I stream. I hope you guys have a great, great, great day. Thank you so much for coming out. Bye, guys. Thank you.